virtual tour for Basis Independent Brooklyn. My name is Sarah Ellerton, and I'm the Director of Admissions. Because we're all working hard to flatten the curve and stop the spread of COVID-19 worldwide, we've shifted to virtual tours and webinars. I'm lucky to have access to the building today, so I'm going to be able to walk you through our facilities, from the gym and the theater to the classrooms and the high school lounge. I'm also going to be talking through our program from pre-K to grade 12. If you're the parent of an older student, I am going to be starting with our youngest learners, so you can feel free to skip ahead in the video. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to answer all of your questions in this video, so my admissions team is ready to chat with you on the phone or using Zoom, and you can register for a meeting with us using the link below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video from the safety and comfort of your own home. Please forgive any shaky camera moments. We look forward to connecting with you soon, and we hope you enjoy the tour. If you've gone to IKEA recently, you probably recognize the outside of our building. I didn't get a camera shot of the playground, but these are some pictures of our students using the Sigourney play structure. This is one of our 3 recess areas, and students rotate through them over the course of their day. Now we're in the main lobby. If you were joining us in person, you would have been buzzed in by security and had your ID run through our system. We often start tours explaining the history of Basis Curriculum schools, which were founded by Michael and Olga Block in 1998. Basis Independent Brooklyn is one of the 37 Basis Curriculum schools worldwide. I'll talk more about the structure of the curriculum over the course of the tour. We're walking into the theater here and we'll see a montage of photos. This is one of our largest gathering spaces on campus and is used for art celebrations and other school meetings. Performing arts classes are part of a required arts rotation through grade 5. Students start making their elective choices in 6th grade. Outside of classes, our drama department also produces a fall play and a spring musical, which students audition for. They've produced Annie Jr., Clue the Play, Fiddler on the Roof, The Crucible, and more. This is also where the Winter Concert and Fine Arts Festival performances take place. As we cross the lobby, we're going to enter our gym. This building was purpose-built for Basis Independent Brooklyn, so we're lucky to have a full, regulation-sized basketball court as our gym. This again gets used for many purposes: PE classes, pep rallies, mixers, athletic practices, and games. We've got a montage of photos here so you can see our gym in use. This next photo is actually from a Lunar New Year celebration featuring my admissions coordinator Linda Smith and her son in 3rd grade and her father as the dragon. As we exit the gym, we're going to walk by some bathrooms and water fountains and a bulletin board featuring the 5 R's. These are at the core of Basis Independent Brooklyn's philosophy and are posted in every classroom and around the building. As we walk towards the first floor cafeteria, we're passing some trophy cases. We've only been open since 2014, so there's plenty of room to grow, but we're proud of all of our Bears achievements from the soccer field to the debate floor. The first floor cafeteria is where grades 1 to 3 eat. Pre-K and kindergarten students eat in their classrooms, and older grades eat on floors 3 and 5. We'll see those soon. Our lunch provider is Butterbeans. About half of the students use Butterbeans, and half bring their own lunch. This is a sample Butterbeans menu. You can see they have themed days and that they label their allergens. Butterbeans always has a meat entree, vegetarian entree, a soup, salad bar, and sun butter and jelly sandwiches. We're extremely proud to be affiliated with Butterbeans. Not only do they feed our students locally sourced, fresh food every day, but during this time of school closures, they've been preparing and donating meals to first responders. We do have several students with severe peanut allergies, so pre-K and kindergarten classrooms are nut-free. If students are bringing a lunch from home that has nuts, they sit at a specific table in the cafeteria. Surrounding the cafeteria, we have Large Play, which is our second recess space. Large Play is half hard surface and half soft surface, and also partially covered. On days where it's a little drizzly or light snow, students can still get outside and get fresh air while being protected from the elements. Moving out of the cafeteria, we have small play, which is our third and final recess space. Small play features a soft surface and is also outside. The weather grates are down right now, but some of these pictures will show them opened. Small play also has the imagination playground blocks, which you've probably seen at public libraries and parks, and students can build their own forts or seesaws with them. Our building is gradiated. As you move higher in the building, the students get older. Our pre-K students are set off from the rest of the school in this wing. We have 4 pre-K classrooms, 1 classroom of 3-year-olds, which we call PreK1, and 3 sections of PreK2, which is our 4-year-olds. This is Xenon's classroom, and their head teacher is Ms. Rivera. Our PreK2 classes are capped at 18 students and have 2 teachers. PreK1 is capped at 16 students, also with 2 teachers. You can see several important parts of Xenon's classroom here as we move through it. The desks, the rug, their light table, and library. All pre-K classrooms have a bathroom inside, as well as a sink for easy cleanup and routine hand washing. You'll notice that the classroom is decorated with student artwork and resources. One of the recurring themes across the BASIS curriculum is a focus on student autonomy and independence. This starts from day 1 of pre-K, with teachers posting resources around the room. Rather than just answering when a student asks how to spell a sight word, Ms. Rivera will ask, "Where in the room could you find that?" And students know they can use their word wall. You can also see their nap mats here. Students in pre-K2 nap for 45 minutes after lunch. Pre-K1 students, the 3-year-olds, have an hour-long nap. Student cubbies here in the classroom help students organize their belongings. Lunchboxes, backpacks, comfort objects, and water bottles. As I mentioned by the cafeteria, these are all self-contained classrooms, so students eat family-style at lunch at their desks and only leave their classroom for movement in recess. We're back over at the front of the room where you can see that Ms. Rivera still has a class schedule for March 12th posted. This is one of those many resources that help ground students throughout the day. We're going to talk about our pre-K curriculum. Our curriculum as a whole runs about a year in advance, and this is true for pre-K as well. Our pre-K2 students use a kindergarten Saxon math textbook, they learn about 100 sight words, and they learn how to read by the end of the year. We run a teacher-led program with a defined academic schedule. Students have academic periods, language and literacy, math, world discovery, movement, and specials classes. Pre-K students also have 2 snacks, 2 recesses, and open playtime. The BASIS curriculum was founded on the principle that just because you're 4 years old or in 6th grade doesn't mean that you can't learn to read or understand chemistry. We believe that students can handle more material than they're trusted with at many schools, as long as it's taught in an engaging, age-appropriate setting. While we do challenge our pre-K2 students to read, and they all reach that minimum goal by the end of the year, our teachers deliver all content and social-emotional lessons, knowing that these students are all 4 years old, turning 5. We use a social-emotional curriculum called Second Step for our pre-K to grade 5 students. While we do run a rigorous academic curriculum, one of our main objectives at BASIS Independent Brooklyn is to infuse joy into our classrooms. I have included these photos from our teachers to show you what our pre-K classrooms look like, with students and teachers in them, and how much fun our students have every day. In this next photo, we have Xenon's teaching fellow, Ms. Cruz, delivering the weekly Second Step lesson. Our head teachers and teaching fellows are with the same class all year, working together to make sure students have everything they need over the course of the day. These photos included images from pre-K specials classes, which are on a weekly rotation. Once a week, subject expert teachers in Mandarin, drama, music, art, and engineering visit our students in their classrooms. We've talked a lot about pre-K2 and not necessarily pre-K1, but the classrooms and daily structure are very similar. Our pre-K curriculum, like the curriculum in the rest of the school, builds upon itself in the 2 years. Where students in pre-K1 end the year able to write and identify all their letter shapes and sounds, pre-K2 ends the year reading. In math, pre-K1 works on A-B patterns and counting to 50, where pre-K2 counts to 100 and matches with one-to-one correspondence by the end of the year. Now that we're on the second floor, we're going to move on to kindergarten. Kindergarten classrooms are capped at 20 students, again with 2 teachers. we're going to go into Copper's room and their head teacher is Miss Eisinger. If you haven't guessed yet, we name all of our class sections after chemical elements. You can see that it's a similar classroom setup. The chairs are a little bigger, but similar tables, cubbies, rug, and artwork and resources. Like our pre-K, these are teacher-led classrooms with defined schedules. As we dive into the kindergarten schedule, you will see some similarities, but also some changes from pre-K. Mandarin is now 3 times per week in kindergarten, and engineering is twice a week. Students still have our arts rotation, performing arts, visual arts, and music. They have recess twice a day, and students have a movement class every day as well. Like the pre-K classrooms, kindergarten classes are self-contained, so all subject expert teachers come to them for their weekly lessons. We're going to see a montage of pictures again, showing our students learning and exploring in our classrooms. This is Mr. Chen teaching Mandarin to our kindergarten students. We've got kindergarteners and engineering class here, and a photo from Project Week, which is one of our best school traditions. And this is a publishing party. One of the end-of-year goals for kindergarten students is that they can sit and write for a 40-minute period of time. And this, of course, is our kindergarten graduation ceremony. There are 3 other kindergarten classrooms, and they're all on the 2nd floor. However, the kindergarten classes also share the 2nd floor with our primary program. As we walk down the hall here, we can see 2 things. First, the cubbies for grades 1 to 3. These are not in a classroom, and we'll talk about why in a moment. Second, on the left, we're passing the movement room. I forgot to get footage in here, but the movement room is our 2nd main PE space, where students have movement or gym class. It can also get used for other purposes, as you see here, students lining up for their Lunar New Year parade. We can see a top view of that 1st floor cafeteria here, but we're going to walk to our right, where we have the primary engineering classroom. Engineering is taught from pre-K to grade 4, but as I've mentioned, the pre-K and kindergarten engineering subject expert teacher pushes into each respective classroom every week. Engineering is a course we teach for many reasons. It's a perfect example of the intentionality that you can see again and again through the basics curriculum. We teach engineering because, number 1, it is a hands-on, creative, active class. Number 2, it is a class that relies on teamwork and group work skills and teaches students how to strengthen and improve both. Third, it is a class that teaches the design method, which is extremely similar to the scientific method that students see in their science classes. But most important is reason 4. Engineering helps prepare students for failure. Not every bridge is going to hold the weight it's supposed to, and not every solution is going to solve the given problem, and that's okay. What you need to do is figure out how to eventually solve that problem. Our engineering class teaches students how to try again. You talk to your classmates, you talk to your teacher, maybe you go to student hours, and you try again. It's far better to develop resiliency and grit and learn how to deal with disappointment and frustration in grade 1 engineering than to get a D on the test for the first time in college and not know how to overcome those feelings and that challenge. There are innumerable ways that the BASIS curriculum, and specifically BASIS Independent Brooklyn, prepare students for life in college and beyond. but engineering class is one easy way from a very early age. As we walk out of engineering, I'm going to talk about our primary program. The primary school structure is arguably one of the most unique components of the BASIS curriculum. As I've said, pre-K and kindergarten have 2 teachers, and it's a traditional head teacher, assistant teacher model. At BASIS Independent Brooklyn, we also have 2 teachers per class in grades 1 to 4 with a 25 student cap, but they play very different roles in the classroom. I've put a graphic up that demonstrates how this works. The first teacher is the LET, or the Learning Expert Teacher. I like to think of this teacher as the home teacher because students no longer have a home classroom. This teacher has a degree in early education and is with the same element of students all day, all year. The LET is responsible for making sure every student is getting what they need throughout the day, whether that's drinking enough water, or help in English class, or additional emotional support because they have a new sibling. The other teacher in the classroom is the SET, or the Subject Expert Teacher. This teacher has a degree in the subject they teach and is responsible for content creation and dissemination. What this means is that from day 1 of first grade, your student is in front of a subject expert for every single subject they take. These 2 teachers work together to make sure that your student has every available resource every day. This is in direct comparison to my primary school experience, for example. I had one teacher with 30 students who was responsible for everything, for everyone: math, reading, writing, and science, but also making sure that I was making friends and going to the bathroom. That is a lot for anyone to expect one human to handle, so we divide that job up amongst 2 people. The LET leads their class through the building all day to different subject expert teachers, which is why they have their cubbies in the hall. They work in tandem to ensure that your child is engaged and excited in every course. We're headed into Miss Grant's classroom for grade 1 math and science. Math and science is taught as a daily, unified, 85-minute block period from grades 1 to 3. In the primary grades, the main theme is connections. We teach subjects like math and science and English and history together so that students learn how to draw connections between subjects. Another pillar of the BASIS curriculum is teacher autonomy. Every teacher is given the professional freedom and respect to design their classrooms and classes how they'd like. What unifies the BASIS curriculum is our subject advisors. Across the BASIS network, there are teachers that are nominated, then apply, and are selected to be subject advisors for a given discipline and grade, for example, 4th grade English or 8th grade US history. We have 12 of them here on our campus, and is one of the highest concentrations in the network. It is the subject advisor's responsibility to define the end-of-year objectives for their given course. These could be content-based or skills-based objectives. For example, the 3rd grade math and science subject advisor could say, by the end of the year, students must have learned about plant adaptations and know how to multiply 2-digit numbers, and they must also know how to read and create a graph, and use the science materials in the classroom safely. Once the teachers receive these end-of-year objectives from their subject advisor, faculty have the professional freedom and autonomy to select their own books, write their own syllabus, and run their classroom as they best see fit. This leads to excited, dynamic teachers teaching exciting, dynamic content to our students. It's one of the many ways we ensure both that the BASIS curriculum is consistent across campuses and teacher happiness and retention, while allowing campuses to develop their own community.
Keep jogging. Keep jogging. Keep jogging. Stay in your square. Stay in your...
I talked over all of those photos and clips of our primary math and science classes, but I hope you saw that they're having a lot of fun learning with their LETs and SETs. We're going to head up now to our 3rd floor. As we walk up, we're going to pass a view of the Red Hook Park. This is a New York City park that BASIS Independent Brooklyn has a permit to use during the day. Our middle school students even run the track. It's everyone's favorite gym class memory. You can also see some construction going on. Not only are several park fields in the process of rehabilitation and being reopened, but a warehouse is also opening across the street from the school. As we enter the third floor, you'll see an immediate difference: lockers and not cubbies. Once again, we're getting a little bit older in the building. This next classroom is going to be Grade 3 Humanities with Mr. Peel. Humanities is a course that teaches reading, writing, geography, history, and civics, again, all intended to help students draw connections between these disciplines. One of my favorite tour memories in Mr. Peel's class was when I walked in with a group of parents and saw that students were getting their spelling words for the week. And then I noticed that they were all states. And then Mr. Peel asked the class what these states had in common, and a student answered that they were all states that fought for the North in the Civil War. You can see that we still have a lot of resources on the walls, reminding students to use the knowledge they can find on their own. As we prepare to exit the room, you'll see Mr. Peel has posted his student hours. Every teacher at Basis Independent Brooklyn, from kindergarten to grade 12, is required to have 2 student hours per week where they're available for extra help. They have the flexibility to schedule these as they'd like, so some math teachers have all 2 hours on Thursdays before math tests, and other teachers have smaller windows multiple times over the course of the week. Student hours are often driven by parents and teachers in the younger grades, but as students get older, it's encouraged that they begin to recognize when they could use more support from their teachers. Students are welcome to visit student hours for any number of reasons, from not understanding an explanation in class, to preferring to study with their teacher in the room, to wanting to discuss a relevant article they read outside of class. Our teachers are extraordinarily flexible with their timing. To quote one pre-calculus teacher, "Oh, I'm often running at least 4 hours of student hours every week." What I love about our community is every teacher's commitment to their students. They teach classes, run student hours, lead clubs, volunteer to chaperone dances, and just generally are heavily invested in their students' academic and social-emotional journeys. The next classroom is going to be our 4th grade English and History classroom. Grades 4 and 5 are considered our bridge years. Grade 4 students still have an LET teacher, but their schedule shifts to more of a middle school schedule. Grade 5 students no longer have an LET, but still have an Introductory to Science course and a rotation of arts classes. One of the main shifts between the primary to middle schools is that the curriculum moves from a focus on connections to a focus on deeper dives into disciplines. We move from a humanities class to a history class and an English class, from math and science to a math class and a science class. This allows our teachers to delve into discipline-specific strategies and skills. We're going to pause here on this taped off section of the board. We've seen this in the other classrooms. This is the CJ section of the board, and CJ stands for Communications Journal. This is a tool Basis Independent Brooklyn students use from kindergarten to grade 12 to help organize their academic lives. It's more or less a daily planner. Teachers write down homework, important notes, and study reminders onto the CJ section of the board, and students are reminded at the beginning of every class to write down any notes into their CJ. This is one of the many ways that we drive student ownership of their own work. This also means that there's no online homework portal for parents. If you want to know what your student needs to do, you need to ask to see their CJ. The CJ is additionally a tool for communication between parents and teachers. You'll likely see notes like, "James contributed positively in science class today," or perhaps, "James has not turned in his last 3 history assignments." Students are required to show notes to their parents, and you need to sign off in acknowledgement. What this is designed to do is again make sure that students are owning their work and the consequences. Rather than parents and teachers emailing or calling over the student's head, the student is now directly involved in the communication. It also helps provide great dinner conversation. You can ask them, what did you do in science class today? We do provide a venue for parents and teachers to meet called Parent Hours. Rather than one conference 3 months in where the teachers meet the parents of all their students in a row, teachers are instead required to offer one parent hour every week where they're available to meet with you. This leads to more flexibility and availability for busy parents. We're going to walk down the 3rd floor hallway here and switch gears to middle and high school. Just with the rest of the curriculum, our middle school program is thoughtfully crafted to build on our primary school courses and also to ensure our students' success in our high school program. Students in middle school take English, history, math, and a world language. They also take 3 science classes starting in grade 6, biology, chemistry, and physics, each 3 times per week. As a whole, the curriculum is designed to spiral upon itself in sequence to help students master content knowledge and continually build their soft skills like communication, teamwork, self-advocacy, and organization. As we think about the progression of courses, there are several easy examples to demonstrate this spiral. Students take science by discipline for 3 years in middle school, so that when it becomes time to take AP Biology, Chemistry, and Physics starting in 9th grade, they are prepared for the rigor and already have a firm background in each branch. Our English courses are split in the middle school, approximately 2 days of grammar and 3 days of literature. This is because we offer 2 AP English courses in the high school. One is called AP English Language and revolves around writing, argumentation, rhetoric, and nonfiction. The other is AP English Literature, and as the name suggests, is a deep dive into a world of literature styles. As students shift into more specialized disciplines, for example from a general 4th grade history course to specific classes in ancient world history and US history, they also take courses that promote that theme of connections. Students take courses in Latin, physical geography, logic, and economics. These courses are intentionally chosen to bolster the learning happening in other courses. When students are exploring graphing and proofs in math class, they're seeing it in logic and economics, combined with rhetoric exercises and discussions of social history. We also start to introduce choice into the curriculum, allowing students to explore and advocate for their own interests. Starting in grade 6, students have their first choice in their education. They have a fine arts elective and they choose from visual arts, performing arts, band, choir, or creative writing. Once students make their choice, they take that course every day for the whole year. We're now on the 4th floor, and this is a standard example of one of our upper school classrooms. This one is used specifically this year for AP Calculus and AP Psychology, but students take English, history, Spanish, and more in similarly set up classrooms. Speaking of Spanish, the second choice students make in their educational career at Basis Independent Brooklyn is in world language. Pre-K to grade 4, students are required to take Mandarin. In grades 5 and 6, students take Latin. In grade 7, students get their choice of language, from Mandarin, Latin, French, or Spanish. Once students make their choice, they're encouraged to continue this through high school to the AP level. The language progression at Basis Independent Brooklyn is another example of the intentionality of the Basis curriculum. We teach Mandarin in Pre-K to grade 4 for several reasons. First, it's a tonal language, which means that it's not just what you say, but how you say it that gives a word meaning. This encourages our youngest learners to focus on the listening skills they're learning in other classes. Second, the way you count in Mandarin is mathematical, and it teaches place value and multiplication. This works in concert with the math skills our students are learning. Third, we do a lot of singing, artwork, and dancing in our Mandarin classes, in addition to teaching characters. This helps to engage both sides of the student's brain. And fourth, finally, Mandarin is part of a huge world culture. We want our students to understand that there's more to the world than Cobble Hill or Park Slope. We take part in many Chinese cultural celebrations throughout the year with our students. Students are conversational in Mandarin by the end of grade 4. In grades 5 and 6, students can continue Mandarin after school, but during the academic day, all students are required to take Latin. Again, this is for several reasons. First, it helps reinforce the grammar we're teaching in our English classes. Second, it lines up with the history curriculum, which is classical history in 5th grade and world history in 6th grade. Third, it helps in their science courses, helping to decipher the large new vocabulary words. Similarly, it's a wonderful boon for SAT and ACT preparation. Finally, from Latin, our students move into the choice aspect. Again, they can start to make decisions about what they like and dislike, and can start to specialize in courses. Their choices are Mandarin, Latin, French, or Spanish. As we walk down the 4th floor hallway, we're going to see Mr. Harmon's office. Mr. Harmon is our Dean of Students for grades 5 to 8. The deans and directors, one for each age band, are the pillars of our student support program. We do run an academically rigorous program, but we work hard to make sure that every student feels supported and prepared to succeed at Basis Independent Brooklyn. Deans and directors work with students and teachers to implement the second step social emotional curriculum, as well as our own wellness year. Deans and directors also help arrange and support student hours and are available to help students mediate disputes, coach them through building rapport with their teachers, or offer organization and time management tips, just for example. We also run a peer tutoring program, and this year we have brought a school counselor onto our staff. Because of the way our program builds upon itself, it is true that it's more difficult to enter Basis Independent Brooklyn as students get older. All incoming middle and high school students are automatically placed onto student support plans with bi-weekly advisor meetings as they work to transition into our program. This was very brief, as I'm now going to shift to art and music, but we are always available to talk in more depth on the phone using the link below. This is our primary art classroom for grades 1 to 4. Our art program across all ages is focused on material use, technique, exploration, and also art history. Often, the art subject expert teachers will introduce an artist famous for a specific technique, and then students will mimic it in their own work. This is the view from above of our third floor cafeteria, but we're going to go over to the right to see our art studio for grades 5 and above. The art studio is everyone's favorite classroom. It usually has a lot of plants, but Mr. Opahori took them home to care for them. Students who choose to be in art in grades 6 and above will be working in this studio. Students of all ages work in a variety of mediums, from pastels to paint to clay and paper mache. We have our own kiln in the back room, and we also have a digital photography course. While Basis Independent Brooklyn has a reputation as a STEM school because of our engineering classes and 3 sciences in middle school, our arts programs are just as important and celebrated in our community. All Basis Independent Brooklyn teachers are hired with on average 7 years of professional experience, whether in the classroom or in a lab or in a corporate setting, and all of our teachers are experts in their fields. Biologists teach biology, and U.S. historians teach U.S. history. The same is true for our arts and PE teachers. These teachers have master's degrees and years of experience in their fields, which means that when your child is in an arts class, they're learning just as much as they do in their math classes. Next is a montage of student work images from pre-K to grade 12. Some of this work has won awards, either in the state or nationwide. Some of it has been professionally sold, and some of it has been published. Enjoy! I mentioned the Fine Arts Festival and the winter concerts when we were in the theater, and here posted in the hallway are some pictures of and from the various art celebrations we host at school to recognize our students' achievements in creativity. We have students recognized on national levels for their work in art and music, just as we do in math and debate. This year, we're sending 2 of our 16 seniors off to specialized, nationally ranked arts colleges. We have 3 classrooms to host our music program. We're going to go first into the domain of Miss McQuilla, who teaches pre-K to grade 3. Her focus is on singing, percussion, barred instruments, and orchestration. Not only is Miss McQuilla a trained opera singer with a master's degree in musical education, but she also recently completed her ORF training. ORF is a classical composer who also developed a method for teaching music to young students. It combines music, movement, drama, and speech into lessons that are similar to a child's world of play. The goal of Ms. McQuilla's classes is to ensure that if students want to continue studying music, either at Basis Independent Brooklyn or beyond, they are prepared to do so with a strong ear and a sense of musicality. Next, we've got our band room and our choir room, where 6th grade and above electives happen. Band is Mr. Ingalls' domain, and his goal is to make band cool again. We currently have 2 ensembles, a middle school band/orchestra and an upper school band/orchestra, but Mr. Ingalls' goal is to eventually have more options for students. Mr. Ingalls is extremely tenacious about getting our students opportunities to perform and submitting audition dates on their behalf. So they've traveled as part of the Disney Performing Arts series for 2 years running, and they also spent 4 hours playing at the New York City Marathon this last October. As we head back into the hall here, we've got a poster of all of our faculty that have participated in band. That is me at the bottom. I was a flautist in middle and high school. And just behind the door here, you can see the badge from the New York City Marathon. They played outdoors for 4 hours in Williamsburg. Our last music classroom here is our choir room, which is Miss Taylor's classroom. In the choir elective, students focus on vocal training, reading music and sight singing, solo work, harmony, and composition. Miss Taylor's students have also traveled to Disney and participated in state singing competitions. As we leave our music classrooms, we're going to head up to the 5th floor. The 5th and highest floor is where you find most of our high school students, but it is also where all of our science classrooms are. Our high school program is entirely designed around advanced placement, or AP courses. This is where our founder started, knowing that AP courses demonstrate that students are capable of completing college-level work and can be accepted by colleges and universities for credit. With that in mind, and knowing they wanted students to be able to tackle this coursework from day one of 9th grade, Michael and Olga Block worked in reverse, filling in all of the courses and sequences we talked about so far. One huge part of high school, which is always lingering in the back of every parent's mind, is college counseling. At Basis Independent Brooklyn, our biggest focus is on fit, making sure that every student has explored the different types of colleges and universities available to them, from their specialties to study abroad opportunities, size, location, and campus feel, before applying and making their decisions. Basis Independent Brooklyn's college counseling program begins in grade 9 with opportunities to meet college representatives when they visit our campus. It grows every year with new mandatory student and family meetings with our college counselor before culminating in the senior year. College counseling becomes a daily class in the senior year alongside capstone courses. In college counseling, students meet college representatives, build their lists, do mock interviews, and organize their applications, among other things. We know that as parents, you'll still be worried about college applications, but we hope to take much of that stress off your shoulders and onto ours. Taking a step back to grades 9 to 11 and our AP courses, at Basis Independent Brooklyn, we believe in access. We do not track students at our school, we don't rank them, and every student has access to take as many AP classes as they'd like to take. At another school, AP courses might be restricted to the junior or senior year, and access is heavily dependent on class capacity and grades. If there is only one teacher who can teach AP biology and a 30-student class cap, only 30 students every year can take AP biology. If the junior class happens to have 900 students, that means students need to be at the very top of the class to have the opportunity to take AP biology. At Basis Independent Brooklyn, one of the many ways we eliminate competition from our classrooms is by giving this access to all students. Every student is in AP-level classes from day 1 of 9th grade. What this also means is that students have time and options. Every course is taught in double the amount of time. AP Biology is taught for 2 years instead of 1, and AP Government and Politics is taught for 2 semesters instead of 1. Students have the luxury of completing double the amount of readings, labs, and class time before the AP exam. At another school, students might only have access to 2 to 4 AP courses, so they often take the AP exams for every class in order to get college credit. At Basis Independent Brooklyn, students can make educated decisions about which AP exams they want to take and can opt out of some. Students take at minimum 8 AP courses at our school, but they only have to take 6 of the culminating exams to graduate. I've now talked my way into and out of one of our science classrooms, but you can still see the structure in these photos. Each science classroom is set up to have lecture and lab in the same space. This means that teachers can easily transition from lecture to lab without worrying about reserving lab space for their classes. We've got all the necessary safety equipment: fume hood, eye flush station, goggles, etc. 2 final things I want to mention before we get into the senior year are homework and testing. Students do have homework starting in kindergarten, and it's about 10 minutes of work, usually finishing the back of a worksheet they did in class. Homework increases at a gradual rate, about 10 to 15 minutes every year. We also strongly encourage you to read to or with your students, but that's just fun. This means that middle school will have around an hour and a half of homework, and high school is 2 to 3 hours a night. The most important thing to know about homework at Basis Independent Brooklyn is that it is closely monitored by teachers, deans, and directors. At the beginning of the school year, teachers are given an amount of time, say an hour and a half for 6th grade. All the 6th grade teachers then divide that homework time up amongst their courses. Deans and directors do surveys twice a year in the middle and high school to make sure that students are not doing more than the allotted amount of homework. If we find that students are doing too much work, we check in with students and teachers to find out why and adjust as needed. We also operate a common testing calendar. All teachers in each grade are required to input every test, quiz, paper, project, and lab report onto the same calendar. Our deans and directors check these regularly to make sure that students are not overwhelmed. While we do want students to work hard, we also want them to have time to be kids and to explore their outside passions. Finally, testing. We do believe in testing and data, and our teachers use these metrics to improve their own teaching methods and understand where they need to review material. In 2 instances, we do testing across the network to ensure that teachers and students are meeting those end-of-year objectives we talked about. In 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, students take benchmark learning tests in the fall, winter, and spring. Students do not study or prepare for these tests, and the results are used internally to make sure that teachers and their classes are on track. In 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, students take midterms and finals, which we call pre-comps and comps, in all of their core subjects. These are tests of content mastery, and they are taken across the network. Teachers have input into the design of these tests, and they are not tests intended to trick students. As long as students have paid attention and worked hard to master the material taught, these tests should demonstrate that our students have successfully completed grade 6 chemistry and are prepared for the next level of coursework in grade 7. We're now in the high school lounge, which is a coveted space at Basis Independent Brooklyn. As the name suggests, this is just a space for our high school students during the day. The high school lounge is where students can study, relax, play ping pong, and be high school students. The space does get used for some classes, and it's also where the high school students eat lunch. One of my favorite classes to observe in this space this year is our Senior History Capstone, which is the history of science and technology. Basis Independent Brooklyn students complete their basic graduation requirements in the junior year. The senior year is then broken into 3 parts: the college counseling course we discussed, capstone courses, and the senior project. AP courses are the equivalent of introductory college courses, like Chem 101, English Composition, or World Civ. Once students have completed their AP coursework, they move on to capstone courses, which are like 200 and 300 level college courses. These courses are much smaller in scope, but dive into the depth of material. These are discussion-based, seminar-style classes that help students refine their critical thinking and reasoning skills. The final part of the senior year is a senior research project. It is an independent, student-led project that takes up the last 3 months of the senior year. They develop an original research question and defend it to our senior project committee. Once approved, they arrange an off-site research placement where they conduct their project. Students have an on-site mentor and blog about their experience over the course of 3 months. Every senior project culminates in a presentation and research paper. You can see past and current examples on our website. We've reached the end of the tour, and we've walked through all of the major spaces in the building. We've also talked through the Basis Independent Brooklyn curriculum from pre-K to grade 12. If you chose to jump into the tour in the middle, there were a few discussions you might have missed about subject advisors, student hours, and the CJ. There are timing for those on this screen. Thank you very much for your interest and time. I hope you enjoyed your virtual visit to Basis Independent Brooklyn. We look forward to speaking with you soon and hope to meet you in the near future.